I'm now going to pass you over to Jonathan Sharp, who's going to introduce today's session. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Sue. So good morning and welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's the next in a series of webinars that we've been running. Today we're going to be looking at how and where we could reduce costs and streamline services to help to improve the experience for citizens and also staff working within local governments. The agenda today, very quickly I'll just introduce Britannic and then we'll look at some of the changes that we're seeing and trends in the marketplace. We'll then look at the connected citizen and how things could and should be different. We've got a number of live demonstrations today, so no pressure to Gillian, who's doing the demos for us. So there'll be a demonstration of IoT technology, so Internet of Things and sensors and how this could be managed moving forward. We'll look at the integrated world and what that means, and then we're into a digital demonstration, and this is really looking at the role of digital communications, how we can bring all these different strands together into a single pane of glass solution and actually manage all these interactions between the organisation and the end customers. And as Sue said, please do at any point use the chat box provided, raise any questions, and we'll happily come back to those at the end of the session today and cover off Q&A. So thanks again for joining us. I hope you really enjoy the session and you get a lot out of it. There's obviously a lot of change in the marketplace at the moment, and I think that's been accelerated of late through some of the changes that we've unfortunately seen with COVID-19, which has seriously impacted many organisations, but also accelerated the need for home working and remote access and management. So quick introduction. Britannic Technologies. So my name's Jonathan Sharp. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director of Britannic. Nearly 24 years into the business. A lot of experience in the industry. And as a company, we were founded back in '84. So a lot of experience of delivering business communications. We have our own development house within the business and the group. And we're very much focused on helping people to solve business problems with technology, helping people to evolve and change and meet those ever-evolving and growing customer demands. And also, of course, look at embracing new innovation and new technology. We've won lots of awards over our history for integration and technology innovation. We very much take a partnership approach with customers. So when I come on to the obligatory logo slide, we've worked with many customers now, well in excess of 10, 20, and some even 30 years. So working closely in partnership to understand requirements, challenges, direction of travel, and then looking out there at available technology and how we work together to build appropriate roadmaps and change programs to keep people moving forward and addressing ongoing market and user and customer requirements. We support over 500 organisations, of which a large proportion of those are contact centres, so it's a market that we really understand. And it's a real good mix of public and private sector organisations. And actually, we support deployments in over 30 countries worldwide. So, a lot of experience baked into the business. We're a platinum partner of Mitel. We're very pleased to be running this session with Mitel today. And again, we've got a long history and heritage with Mitel, spanning back to 2002, and helping people ultimately get the most out of that Mitel investment and integrate innovation, new working practices, and adjacent technologies that deliver an end-to-end solution and really get technology working effectively following best practice. We're a quality business, so we work to ISO certifications, so things like 9001 and 27001 for security management, business continuity, and we use elements from Prince 2, but also agile development to really ensure structure and value for customers. Our values are very much, as I said, built around partnership. It's not a supplier customer, traditional supplier customer relationship. It's very much about how we work with, we understand how and where we can support our customers and their journey that they're on. Integrity and quality are really important cornerstones within that relationship. And of course, it is very much focused on not just constant innovation and progression, but making sure that well-established technology is well managed, well maintained, and people are able to generate value from that too. So it is very much in end-to-end capability in-house within the business, but we don't push anyone down a particular route. We're working with to review and advise, and I think we recognise that we have a part to play within that supply chain. So invariably we're working with other suppliers. I think having a broad view and understanding is really important because it helps us, even if we're not delivering that component, to actually work with our customers and their supply chain, if a problem exists, to help to troubleshoot and integrate technologies and move forward. We've all got an expectation today of always on available technology and services. So that sound, comprehensive understanding, right from the cloud and the SIP trunks all the way through UC and omni-channel to applications, integration and development is really important. So clients that we look after, as you'll see from the slide, a lot of experience within local government and housing associations, but also across commercial business as well. And I think there's the opportunity is to share this experience that we have, that we've built up over many, many years, and look at how and where technology innovation can be used to help to streamline operations and improve customer experience. So just moving into what we see that customers want, and a lot of it is based upon accessibility, flexibility, and choice. So people like to have choice in how they communicate, and it's not just about picking the phone up. We see different demographics, of course, out there, and different expectations of different age groups, whether it's using a chat system or social media for communication, or real-time channels such as voice. And invariably, this is the choice that people use is predicated by the value and the urgency and the emotional importance to people. So being able to accommodate and pivot from one channel to another is actually really important. Digital, there's a lot of talk about things like digital transformation. So it's probably become a bit of a buzzword in our industry, but we certainly recognise the fact that there's a growth in digital communication and channels. When we're looking at aspects like transformation, there is definitely an opportunity to review existing processes, workflows, customer journeys and experience, and actually redesign some of some of those models that have been in place for some time, and look at how and where efficiencies and innovation can be brought to bear. It's interesting that people want consistent experience across all channels of communication, but invariably they don't get it. So that's a challenge that many organisations face. The other one is that we all expect rapid responses, and And if we contact someone over a phone, we obviously expect it to be answered quickly. If we contact someone via chat or email, what's happened is over time is our expectations for immediate response has certainly ratcheted up, and that benchmark keeps on rising. So fast response, and with it, it's how do you manage the SLAs and the experience that you deliver. And customer experience has most definitely become a board level priority today, and it's a lot of what we're helping people with is how can you improve the customer experience. To do that, we have to look at aspects like how do we improve the user experience and efficiency and motivation, because of course happy staff invariably mean happy customers. We look at aspects like reducing efforts and friction through contacts, because again, this reduces the effort for customers, improves customer experience, and actually reduces the cost to serve as well. So there's a lot of great examples that we've got of that. Digital overload. This is certainly something that I think many of us live with. Huge growth in email communication. So the average office worker receives 120 emails a day, and 28% of their time is just spent on email. So the question is, what value are people able to undertake, and what's the output versus the constant flow of digital nudges and interruptions into the workplace. Big growth around social media, and these channels are only set to continue to increase. Massive growth in aspects such as WhatsApp as well. So lots and lots of different channels, lots of ways of customers contacting us. And of course the challenge is, how do we bring it together? How do we get that single, consistent view of the customer? So we definitely know this, that if we can improve customer experience, it goes hand in glove with reducing costs. So helping customers look at self-service methods, looking at the design of that, making sure it's simple, it's intuitive. If people are trying to drive adoption and use of online portals, then there's a lot of questions there about how that's designed and how you introduce communication channels and overlay to guide people through it, and if they get stuck, how you're going to deliver service. So a lot of great experience that we've got that we're very much happy to share. Over time, I've seen a change where a lot of it was about personalization. There was a really two ends of the spectrum. So trying to create automated digital businesses, and then the other side was highly personalized service and care. And of course, what we have now is the ability for technology to automate certain repetitive tasks, free people up to focus on adding value and personalizing service. And actually the technology can then help with understanding the customer, the context, the preferences, and serve up information to actually enhance the service levels that are delivered. We're going to go through some technology through demonstrations. So again, part of what we've looked at is how do we add value to Mitel as a technology? How do we help customers embrace a wide range of different channels into that single interface, which can indeed include email, chat, social media, WhatsApp, and even Internet of Things alerts and sensors. So creating this layer where we can start to triage, read, automatically respond, route, handle things automatically, and then ensure that we're using information in back office systems to improve success rates of interaction for customers. What it enables us to do is, and you'll see on the slide there, there's the Mitel Contact Center, is actually bring all of these different channels into a single interface so that you can decide how you want staff to interface with customers and what channels you want them to use, and you've got an ability to move through those different channels and learning, but actually get to the point where it becomes a single hub for customer interaction, management, reporting, and information. which can include things such as video communication and co-browsing from the website, all delivered into this single interface. So that's hopefully set the scene. I'd like to now hand over to Ali just to talk a bit about Mitel and the connected citizen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I've taken myself off mute. So, afternoon, everybody. My name's Alison Brewer. I head up the government and housing sector at Mitel. Good to see some existing Mitel customers attend this webinar. So hopefully you will see some enhancements or some out of the possible future technologies that may be relevant to you as an organisation. So for those that don't know Mitel, I'm sorry, I've got another screen that's just popped up. Just very quickly want to do a Mitel by numbers. So who are we? Mitel is a communications company. We've been in the UK market for just shy of, believe it or not, 50 years. So, unified comms and contact center and collaboration, absolutely, the core of our company. That's what we've done from day one to 50 years on. Obviously, we've transformed as an organisation, but that is our key strength. So, for those customers that are on the call, you will probably be aware that we've moved from what typically could be an on-premise solution to a virtual technology to a fully MyCloud hosted managed service offering. So as an organisation, we can deliver in the deployment model that you would want from a end customer point of view. So we're not saying one size fits all and everybody has to move to the cloud. Clearly, within public sector, that's absolutely not the case, and you will determine your own journey with regards to how you want to deploy newer technologies. That said, we are the biggest or the fastest growing cloud business company globally. So we're signing, adding thousands of users per week to our cloud platform. However, on the flip side, we're still selling as many handsets today as we were 10 years ago. So clearly, businesses still want some form of, I think, resilience, particularly, if you're relying on 100% soft phone. There are certain parts of your business, I would have no doubt, that would require a fixed phone for a particular job role. Now, Jonathan did touch on it. I think, the whole acceleration of unified comms and collaboration tools during the pandemic has accelerated, as we've said, people deploying technologies and being away from the office, home working, and embracing the possibility of, this is the new norm. Many people may not even go back into the office on a full-time basis. So, our technologies absolutely will allow you to adopt to that model. A lot of our R&D dollars is invested in the contact center pillar, and you will see some of that technology today. My colleague Mark will just quickly kind of walk you through a day in the life of a citizen. It talks about different parts of the Mitel portfolio, and I won't steal any of Mark's thunder, but clearly it talks about a customer journey with technologies that you may or may not be using today, and that absolutely has a core kind of fundamental basis of the Mitel contact center. So what we've also done, moving on to the next slide, is, we've gone out to the market and, we talk to our customers on a regular basis, and clearly we talk to other local authorities and housing associations within the UK and globally. And, there are three foundational market observations that we've looked at that just jump out time and time again when we're talking to customers. So number one being the mobile social cloud is disrupting how work is done. Now, 10 years ago, we would have said, 20 years ago even, we would have said that was the whole voice and data converged environment, so putting your voice on your data network. Well, that absolutely, has changed. What this means is bringing in your mobile, your mobile phone as an example, bringing in those applications such as social media. So we're social people, we spend a lot of time on, maybe it's Twitter, maybe it's LinkedIn, or maybe it's applications that Jonathan's already mentioned, such as WhatsApp. So how can we better that experience for your citizens by allowing them to contact you via those types of channels. So, and then cloud in its own right is more flexible than, for example, an on-premise proprietary technology. So cloud will allow you to adapt and adopt newer technologies far more quickly. So the whole mobile social cloud is absolutely, fundamental moving forward if you have a project that you're considering as you move forward into 2020, 2021. Another element of that would be, customer expectations. I think, again, Jonathan talked about, personalization. I don't know how many of you on this call have profiled your customer base, but I can assure you there's many customers who would rather talk to you via WhatsApp or social media or Facebook applications rather than pick up the phone for one. Even something simple like web chat, which is a real-time channel and would require, an agent or a chatbot possibly at the end to make sure that query was answered correctly and within a reasonable amount of time. But, gone are the days where many people will hang on that phone, and I'm sure you appreciate that, you're working in this environment. So, what we'll show you through the webinar as well is some demonstrations of, all those other channels outside of voice. And, a key fundamental approach is, when you are planning a UC&C, so UC in Contact Center or UC in Collaboration approach, and it's lined up. So you're not doing things individually within an organization. So an example of that would be, your contact center is not looking for a particular technology to satisfy one of their challenges without speaking to, the back office IT guys who may be experiencing the same things with internal departments within the organization. So, that project needs to be a little bit more of a holistic view rather than a siloed approach, and that will absolutely help you moving forward. So this slide is talking about, connecting to citizens' devices and data. So what do I mean by that? I guess in a nutshell, as customers of, you have customers and, you have suppliers, but moving forward, the whole world is changing. And I think from a supplier or vendor point of view, local authorities in particular need to be working with organizations or suppliers that understand how all these components fit together to help deliver the next generation communications for your organization. So if I look at some of the icons, they represent kind of contact points or triggers that will deliver and represent a better customer experience for your organization. So the people that want to contact you using some of these bubbles will get a far better experience. For you, that means efficiency gains and productivity gains. So, and I'll just touch on one or two. Chatbots, this is absolutely real. And Jonathan has talked about IoT as an example. Where you have customers just wanting a response to a frequently asked question, then, do you really need to hook up a live agent to answer those questions and send a piece of information? The answer is probably not. So there are such things as functional chatbots, so just delivering a piece of information to a citizen who's asking a particular question, or there are transactional chatbots. So a chatbot can go off and connect with back-end processes, connect to a payment system and allow that citizen or a tenant in a housing association environment pay their rent or pay a parking fine, as an example. All this is real. It's not new. It's stuff that, Mitel and both Britannic have been talking about for a number of years now. We have customers utilizing this technology. So again, that delivers, efficiencies for you as an organization and a far better customer experience. And I think Jonathan touched on sensors. So Mark, my colleague, will talk about IoT, and I think today's day in the life of the citizen is slightly different, talking about missed bins. But nonetheless, if, for example, you have sensors on white goods within your housing. So for local authorities that have housing stock, or for those of you that are from a housing association on the webinar, something simple such as a sensor on a boiler will trigger an alarm in the event that there's a fault way before, into the contact centre, way before that the tenant or the citizen would even know about it. And the ball gets, the whole process is kicked off behind the scenes without the citizen or customer even knowing that you're planning, a technical guy to visit the property, or you contact the customer. So you're proactive rather than reactive in those kinds of scenarios. So hopefully that's just set the scene as art of the possible. Both Gil from Britannic and Mark will bring this to life a little bit more than me talking to, a slide. So without further ado, hopefully that was useful to you. I will hand over to Gil to do the first demonstration, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. So building on from what's just been talked about, I thought I'd take one of those aspects, which is IoT, because IoT can mean multiple aspects, whether that's support for more vulnerable, or whether that's kind of sensors within an emergency lighting. What we've done with a partnership is to be able to bring all of those together and to normalise that data, but then look at the next step. How do you then communicate that data? It's all kind of well and good. They think that there's going to be more IoT devices in this country within the next 6 months than there are people. So that means that there's gigabytes of data. And as an organisation, are you thinking, do you need experts? Do you need more people? Do you need data analysts? Do you need to kind of empower your workforce? Or actually, do you just want to concentrate on, if something is triggered, how do we move forward? And this is where we're able to work with you to kind of move this forward, looking at what threshold you want, and then what next step actions that you want to happen. So if I do this, I'm just going to share my screen. Takes a little moment for it to happen. There we go. Just want to check everyone can see my screen.
Not at the moment, Gil. Can you just redo
Okay.
it? Thanks.
Yeah. Good old live demos. There we go. Right, can everyone see this now? There we go. So what we have is a platform where your sensors, whether you're looking at housing stock or whether you're looking at how you run your kind of emergency lighting or spec that a device can be put onto, produces an intense amount of data. And there's either someone has to sit and visibly look through that data, pour through it, and then create an action, or what we're able to do is actually is change how you look at it, and not having to worry about the bytes of data coming through, but all you need to worry about is the action on the next step. So kind of we're taking in that data, we're setting thresholds. It could be that if you run a sports centre, for example, you have to do Legionellas demo, Legionellas tests. So what you're able to do is, rather than having to go around and purge all of your taps for an engineer, we're able to trigger that event. So if a tap hasn't been run for 7 days and it's not got above 56 degrees, an alert can be sent, and it can either come in to your contact centre into Ignite, or we are able to push that alert straight out to your engineers or a third-party contractor that might do that for you. So we're empowering you to do more with less or the same. And this is, we kind of bring this through and capture this in that second layer. So if we kind of trigger an event to happen, we can then take it through, and I'll go through more in detail about this platform which sits, I suppose, just before the information gets passed through into the Ignite contact center. And we can then streamline what is coming through and look at the different alerts and what actions. Do you want it forwarded on? Do you want to, for example, create a ticket because a boiler's gone, or then you can add in the background all of the SLAs and the data that you need to be compliant. We're working with a number of housing associations at the moment with this, all around the Home Fit Habitation Act, about being able to collect that data and educate necessarily before it gets to that stage where kind of something goes wrong. If you have a leisure centre and a tap needs purging, you can then get that message sent straight to that leisure centre, to the desk or to the manager there, and say, please can you just go and run the third tap in the men's changing rooms, because that hasn't been run for the last 2 weeks. So you're creating those efficiencies of how we are able to pull that data and create and automate that next step of action. And that's how productivity increases, and that's how we're able to take your organisation forward by giving you more knowledge about what is happening within. So I think now I'm handing over to Mark now for the connected citizen.
Thanks, Phil. So welcome everybody. My name's Mark Anderson. I'm a sales engineer at Mitel, and I'm aligned to Alison from a vertical perspective. So we do lots of work and demonstrations and things with local government. Today, I'm going to take you through a customer journey. In this case, it will be that of a citizen who resides in our fictitious local authority. The scenario we will walk through is something that can be a common daily or weekly occurrence, which will highlight a technology journey exposing challenges faced and outcomes that they will provide that will provide a positive customer experience. The technology used in the following scenario is a combination of things on offer from Mitel and indeed Britannic. So that's a little look at what we're going to go through. When I go onto the storyboard, so it's a storyboard story, so just to let you know, we start at the top left and then we'll just follow the arrows through, and that happens for a few of the slides I've got. So it's just to sort of put that scenario across to you, and you can see, and at the end of it, a lot of the touch points that we go through from a technology point of view. So firstly, let me introduce our citizens. So here we have Graham and his family who have recently moved into the area. Graham wants to know when his waste and recycling will be collected. So he looks online on the council local government's website, and he can see various communications methods to contact them. This time he chooses the chat that's available. So on the website there's a chatbot, and Graham goes off on his journey to start off with a chat through the bot. So Graham provides some information about himself. I mean, these are things that are little variable things that you can set, but obviously capturing information from your customers allows you the possibilities further down the line of integrations and screen popping to make sure you get knowledge of the customer that's coming into the endpoint, which could be the contact center. So Graham provides that information and starts his conversation regarding the recycling. The bot is able to converse with Graham using Google AI's natural language processing, and before long he has the required information he wants to his question, basically. That said, Graham finds that he wants some additional information. But this time the chat bot is unable to take Graham along the full complete journey, and so assistance is required from a live agent. So using Google AI Agent Assist feature, Graham's conversation is automatically routed through to the Mitel contact center to an available live agent who is able to see the full conversation detail taking place between Graham and the chatbot. Next slide. There we go. So happy knowing that the days he was after to understand when the waste and recycling will be collected. Graham returns home, and then one day he comes back, and after the recycling was collected, he finds one of his bins has gone missing. So Graham is frustrated that his bins were quite new, so he was a bit disappointed with that. And like many customers do in this modern day and age, they vent, and they vent a sort of annoyance via social media. And in this case, Graham mentions the council in dispatches. So luckily, the council have adopted a solution for social media monitoring. In this case, it's BizView, and the tool is capable of capturing the conversations that mention the council, and then they can send through and route through to the contact centre to an available queue where you've got the right people who maybe deal with social media sort of interactions that come in. So this is captured through the WebIgnite interface as an open media interaction, and the agent is able to respond to the social media interaction via WebIgnite. Okay, so that interface that we're going to talk about, and Gil will show as well in a further demo. So the response back, it goes back via BizView and then back into its native form. So if it was a Facebook Messenger message, it will go back as a Facebook Messenger message or WhatsApp or whatever the social media of choice that you've hooked into as a council. The agent can see that Graham is listed in the council's CRM. So again, the ability to integrate with CRM systems is entirely possible. So the details that they have on record allow them to communicate back with Graham because there's known information, whether it's email or phone numbers, etc. Okay, so a phone call is placed. So using the omni-channel capabilities of the Mitel contact center, the agent who was contacting Graham back via an email with confirmation details, basically, of yes, here's your bin, and we'll confirm we'll get this sent back out to you as a replacement. The agent can also pivot from an email they were in to a voice call seamlessly. And that's not just the only way of pivoting. You can do lots of other ways of pivoting from email to maybe a SMS. It's all about what information you have for that customer and what interaction types you choose to bring into your contact center. So in this case, a voice call is followed up with. So the agent then uses another form of technology. So internally, the agent uses the MyCollab client. The MyCollab client is a UC capability, so we can see presence and availability of all internal people and staff. And in this case, the agent chooses to send a chat message using their MyCollab UC client on their PC. The recycling team who receive the chat, that's where the chat was sent, they can pick that chat up again on their PC via the UC client, or it could be on their mobile. They may be out and about in the workplace. So the details are passed through in the chat conversation, and the recycling team confirm back via the chat that they have a bin stock and the date that they will drop that replacement bin off at Graham's house. The agent can update any notes in the system because we use case management. So as soon as that first interaction came in to the contact center, a case is created, and then all follow-up interactions involving Graham can be recognized and bundled together. So the recycling team, they load Graham's new bin and deliver on the agreed date that was arranged. The agent opens the existing case, and from within Ignite, they have all of that full story within that case of all the interactions they've captured. They can update any notes. And actually, again, the agent chooses from Ignite to initiate an SMS message just to Graham to say that the bin has been delivered. Confirmation of that. Happy with the service he's received from the council. Graham, being of fair mind, he then goes back to social media and says what a great experience he received. So a bit of a journey. I've just put it into sort of cartoon box type things. It's a bit easier to show and quicker to show as well. But also it just, I guess, important to recap on the journey that took place there. I mean, most journeys today, the more channels you offer a customer, you can see it just becomes a non-linear journey for that interaction. And I guess looking back as well, even though I did it in that storyboard, it's important to see how many touch points there were with the technology. So we started off with the contact center messenger AI chat on the website. We used agent assist, so it was still a chat and it still transferred through to a live agent. We then received social media interactions, and that comes in via an open media interaction. And again, that was all around that social media piece. We had voice calls. Voice is standard for Mitel, has been for many years, as we all know. but the contact center can do so much more. The stories and demonstrations we do where customers are using separate mailboxes that they can't manage effectively, and web chats that don't come into this interface either. It's just very hard to report on and control and manage everything that goes on. We saw email, we saw Mitel, a UC client as well. So as part of all your contact center bundles and agent bundle licenses, you get capabilities to run UC clients and soft phones as well. And of course, we used and saw SMS. So with all that we've seen, I mean, the challenges that we often see and face are things such as awareness of customer issues. Okay, so the awareness of customer issues is how and what tools can be provided to help understand those customer issues. What are those avenues you're going to allow the customer to contact you on? The multiple communication methods, so just that, providing the customer with all these avenues into the business, it has benefits, but managing these communication paths can prove quite a challenge. Integration, self-service, again, AI we saw from a self-service point of view, that has got to be organically grown through time. It's not something you can just set up and walk away from there. It does. It's got to keep self-learning, and you've got to keep feeding new things into it as well. Integrations with CRM tools and the different tools that you have in-house and want to link into the Mitel solution or with BizView and things like that we saw. Tracking progress, that non-linear journey that we've just gone through. It's hard to sort of keep tracking of progress, and it can provide a challenge. So, understanding all those touch points, how they've come and how they all piece together. And updating all parties as well. Communication, whether it's internally or externally. You need the tools to be able to do that. And of course, what we all try to achieve is the positive customer experience, which is what we want out of the back end of it. So some of the outcomes as well. So looking at those, we saw the introduction of AI. Where customer queries can be handled without the need of human intervention, should that be the case. FAQs were mentioned. It could be just a lot of the transactional quick information that can be processed quickly, allowing, freed up time for agents to concentrate on higher priority pieces of work. Analysis and trends, the ability to report on contact center interactions to see customer trends, and, in the case of AI as well, like I said before, I use that term, organically grow it. It's got a knowledge base, so it needs to learn. Tracking the customer journey, we saw, case management play a role in that as well, which was pivotal, I guess, for the contact center. If you're going to allow all these different interaction types in, you need to bundle them all in together and make sure, you can track that journey with what's gone through. And productivity and tools, we saw the ability for the agent to handle those different interactions through that single pane of glass, that web ignite, and as well as my collab and the UC capacity that we had for that to keep in touch within the organization. It's very useful as well. Enhanced customer experience. You're offering your customers a choice of communication, with you is most appealing. But having them all managed effectively, once that stream of communication has been established, will prove critical to ensuring, the great customer experience. And brand loyalty, no matter what business you're in, the importance of being, presented in a positive light is absolutely critical, and will drive, if it's good, then obviously it will drive that brand loyalty as well. So hopefully that's been of some use for you as a little story, and it's just, putting a simple scenario out there that could happen, but just letting you understand all the methods of communication and how it all pieces together. Now Mitel and Britannic can help you with that. I'm going to hand back over to Gil to complete his demonstration.
Thank you. So kind of the next aspect that we are moving on to is to try and again bring all of those kind of discussion points that Mark has just raised there to actually show you them coming into Ignite. So there are a number of different aspects that we've got. Just waiting for my screen to be shared. Is that coming through?
It appeared for a second, then disappeared. If you could just refresh it again for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you just start talking through while
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah, is that connected?
Not yet, I'm afraid.
Okay. Screen share stream is connected. I've got. I'll refresh that again. There we go. The joys of a live demo.
Oh, hang on a second. There we go. It should be broadcasting shortly.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
there we go. So, kind of, you can see here that kind of I have my Ignite channel up, and I have a number of different channels that can come through. And what we at kind of Britannic are able to do is help you before those kind of bombardment of messages come through to the contact center, because we know that there are, as you open up new channels, you're not necessarily reducing contacts through other forms, you're just opening up the ability to contact to another demographic. So you're able to kind of take those messages that come in firsthand and then start to look at, well, how can we automate it? Or how can we reduce the time of conversation? So, for example, here, I've done a web chat, it's come through, we've seen how we've collected the data, so before we get to an agent, we've already saved the amount of time that agent has to go through. We have a work order number here that's been generated, so that can be integrated with your CRM system. And now, as an agent, I can start to this I will send for example, so we send back, and then here we are. We'll be having an interactive message in real time, but rather than taking kind of 5, 6, 7 minutes, kind of by getting that data beforehand, you can potentially halve the time that web chat is happening. It's the same with, we were talking about other aspects. Here we go. Kind of, isn't it great for a tweet to go into at night? Yes, it is. So you're able to distinguish between what's a direct message and what's a post that mentions you. So all of these aspects that we're starting to look at bringing in, and we've also got, excuse me, the one that I'm finding most interesting at the moment is WhatsApp. Again, we've put that bot on the front end just to confirm who they are, kind of, and reaffirming those details, again, reducing the amount of time, or potentially answering questions before they even come through to an agent. And if I show you an example of that, so here we go. Can you tell me what day I've been to collect on, please? We found this, we're working with a council in the Northwest, and they're finding that they were getting hundreds of transactional requests through various different means. What I'm trying to do here is give you a very brief overview of the different types of contact that can be coming in. So I send this in, and you're thinking, well, do you want an agent's time to be taken up with answering? Please go and look at this bit on the website. Because you find that you have that kind of a transactional conversation where an agent isn't necessarily adding any value. So here we go. Kind of, I've chosen North Hearts, but you can do here. So we've then directed them so they can now self-serve. Again, it's kind of the cheapest and sometimes the most satisfactory way in which people like to work. But you've also said, look, if you do need some more information, come back to us. And then we'll kind of recontact us through this. But what actually we need to do now is collect some data so we can make sure that we can resolve the contact at first contact resolution. Or you might want it to then kind of be integrated with your CRM system, so you can see kind of where it is. So what you're doing here is picking up some ID&V aspects. So if I go back here, thanks. I also want to order a bin. So if this isn't necessarily something that can be done as a transaction, because you have to discuss the wheres and the whys. So I sent that back in, but if you've reduced 70 or 80% of your inquiries because you've been able to automate and enable that self-serve aspect before it's got through to the contact centre, you're allowing your advisors to start to work on those cases that actually need that human intervention and enables them to add value. So we've done this. So if we see here, kind of, we come through into the emails, bin collection here. So here we go. So what I've got now is I've got the email trail. So we've done the first bit. So we've done the triaging, and this is now enabling an agent kind of, and this can be pushed through into Ignite. And we're enabling an agent to then respond and clear off that first time and not start that kind of the back and forth with the customer. You need this, okay, more, I need some more detail. They send some more details back in. You can make sure that all of that is triaged beforehand. And this is done by kind of being able to create templates, being able to create filters, and being able to create rules. So email tends to be quite a tricky one because it's so vast about what can come in and it can be a bit flaky, but it also can take the most time to compose answers back. We've just been doing some work with an organisation who, within 2 months, have had 200,000 emails, and we've managed to automate first contact response back to them on 154,000 of those emails. That's big scale. We're also using this from the travel agency who started off kind of taking their emails in from the airlines and then very quickly pivoted and became proactive, knowing that actually it was the triaging that needed to be done from their customers about cancelling their holidays because of the current situation. So this is what we call a continuous improvement tool, and all of the tools that we've got. You see here, we can work across email, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We can set some chatbots up, which again interact and can help people fill forms in through a chatbot. You can have the live web chat going through. We've got WhatsApp. So, and all of these we can pass into Ignite. So then you really kind of, your Mitel system becomes that complete kind of unified contact center. And what you've enabled is the triage to happen beforehand. So you're reducing the mass of interactions that you're having that you're not adding value to. So you're able to really concentrate on the actions that need that human interaction, enabling you to kind of to do more and open more channels without needing to increase the size of your contact centres, and also in engaging the organisation as a whole by routing aspects and alleviating that what I call the Chuckle Brothers effect, which from me to you to me comes in, you share it around, and actually no one's had any value. Put those business rules in place. That email that comes in or that communication that comes in that talks about council tax or whatever. It doesn't matter what email address that they come in on, it gets passed to that department. And that's really how you can start to kind of become efficient and really utilise the functions and features that the Mitel delivers you. There we go. Stop sharing that one. So I think we're now on to just rounding up and saying thanks for coming.
Okay, so Gil, thank you very much. Hopefully the live demonstrations, no pressure to Gil, have brought all that to life for you and shown you some of the art of the possible. Certainly from our perspective, we recognise there's a lot of choice and a lot of complexity, and Britannic and Mitel, we're here to work together to support you, to look at where you're at, where you want to get to on this journey, look at the problems that you need to solve, look at the new initiatives and improvements that you want to underpin and support, and we'll run workshops and reviews and discovery sessions to try and help support you through this this journey of transformation that we're seeing happening so much in the marketplace. So thank you so much for your time today. Hope you've really enjoyed it. I think all that's left is to move on to Q&A if we have any questions.
Great, thank you very much for that. So I've just posted, if you do want to ask any more questions, please type away and we will read through them. So we do have a couple of questions already in. And this one's for Mark. So Mark, when you were talking about your storyboard example, just asking about the timeline for deploying that kind of scenario, I suppose. I think the question's actually relating to Graham being very happy at the end. So from him with his initial inquiry to the end, how long does that take, roughly?
It's it's a finger in the air bit, because I presume the question's referring to that first interaction which is via the AI bot through to Graham being successful. I mean, it depends on what sort of SLAs the local authority want to put in place for dealing with these things. So it's very hard to give an exact timeline, but you could say a day, you could say 3 days. It wouldn't be our choice, it would be the authority's choice to see how quick they could drive that through, because that information that comes through from the customer depends on what time of day it comes through. If it's 5 to 5 and you're outside of business hours, then it goes into the next day. So very difficult, I guess, to quantify that. I wasn't sure if the question was relating to deployment of the full solution. Yeah, I was quite sure.
Just to take up on the software side, if you're looking at kind of bringing together some of the other aspects around social media, WhatsApp, etc., well, kind of inbox typically, kind of all of those different aspects kind of can be, depending on what rules you want and how complex you want it, within kind of, it's all non-invasive, which means that kind of usually within about 5 days we can have something up and running, and then link it into the Mitel scenario, and then you can kind of build your business rules and taste around that. But that then becomes the decision of the organisation about how complex they want it to be before they launch it. So I think you're right that the timeline it takes for the actual delivery of it, of the conversation from start to finish, is variable depending on how long it takes the customer. But the software, kind of 5 to 10 days, and you can be up and running.
Great, and actually David did clarify that question by asking about the technology, which you've just answered, Gil, so thank you for that. Just a question about, how much are you seeing Internet of Things devices in local government sort of organisations or businesses? Are you seeing much of that right now? It seems to be the kind of the new thing in a way, that people have realised that the proactiveness. I think housing associations tend to be leading. If you look at things around the Homes Fit for Habitation Act and some of the aspects around claims that are happening there, what this is enabling you to do is almost nullify those claims. You're able to do the education piece at the start. So it's and you're also then looking at kind of insurance, etc., because you can then prove that you are being proactive in looking after your stock or looking after your buildings. So it seems to be very much the here and now. We're working with Daisy with their platform and a number of others to develop a 360 solution, from kind of implementing the devices through to collecting all the data, through to doing those next steps in communication, through to someone going out to do a fix. So you can pick each different aspects of that, and I would say kind of there's a big discussion to have that. So if you are interested, then do drop us a line and we can kind of go into more detail around how it's being deployed and what's being done and what the savings are.
It's absolutely something that needs to be planned without a doubt, and you have to pinpoint some customer challenges that you're trying to resolve with automation. So, you need a good customer example of, why you want to do this. And then, as Gil said, both Mitel and Britannic can absolutely help. So there's a bit of a discovery that you would need to do, whether it's chatbot. We work with best-in-class consultants in that respect, or IoT to build that customer journey. But yes, definitely one of the key technology drivers for both local authorities and housing associations. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. In terms of the current situation with COVID-19, are you seeing more inquiries about how to be more digitally enabled? Perhaps one for Jonathan there.
Yeah, definitely. So part of what we did at the initial lockdown is we recognised the demand for inquiries to actually know what's happening. Any change point is going to create an increase in inquiries. So we have definitely seen it. We've delivered a number of projects during lockdown, and these have been very rapidly deployed for customers. And certainly the number of inquiries and opportunities that we have has increased significantly over that time. I think there's always been that recognition that people were using digital channels, but with some of the challenges of people, distributed workforce, people working from home, actually the importance of striving for centralized views, consistency, and improved management control so as not to impact the customer experience and ensure that efficiency is achieved is really driven the demand in the marketplace.
Okay, great. Okay, well, if we don't have any additional questions at the moment, I think we're actually at the end time of today's session. So, Jonathan, if you just want to finish off, then we will close today. It is being recorded, of course, so if you do want to pass it on to any of your colleagues that weren't able to join, then we can send the recording out that you can listen to it again. But thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you very much, Sue. So, Britannic, we're here to help. We're very experienced Mitel delivery partners and system integrators, so big heritage of success, lots of experience and best practice to share and insight to share. So as you're on this journey, as I'm sure you are, many organizations are looking at this change point in the market and the role of digital and process automation and AI. We'd love to work together. That's us, Mitel, and yourselves to look at how we can help. So thank you very much for your interest. At any point, if you want to follow on, we're definitely here. I think we'll be following on with sending copies of slides out and recordings. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure hosting you, and we look forward to the opportunity to have follow-on discussions. Thank you.